Why do Muslims always fail to disprove this Islamic dilemma? Now, if you're not familiar with what this Islamic dilemma is, I can give you a brief explanation about it. So, we have these Christian apologists today who say that the Quran confirms the entirety of the Bible, meaning the Quran is saying everything that the Bible is telling you is the truth and is not corrupted. And in the meantime, the Quran also contradicts the Bible. Therefore, we have a dilemma. Now, the Muslims find themselves in a very complicated situation. If the Quran contradicts and never aligns with the Bible in a lot of stories, then it's going to be a problem because it also says that everything that the Bible tells you is correct and it is not corrupted. This is the claim of these Christian apologists, unfortunately. You may ask yourself, what is this backed up with? Where is the evidence and where is the proof of this whole dilemma thing? Well, here's the interesting part. There is no proof and there is no evidence when it comes to this whole understanding and this whole new meanings when it comes to those specific verses. The whole entire thing is based on their own new understanding. Basically, what they did is they read this text, these verses from the Quran, with their own minds in the English translation, and they come up with their own understanding and their own interpretation. They go against the language, they go against the context, they go against the historical context, they go against all the Islamic scholar tafsir, the exegesis of these verses. They're basically saying screw all those Muslim scholars who lived near the time of the Prophet, and they had this library of informations in their minds, and they know better about the Arabic language, they know better about the Quran, they know better about the Hadith, they know better about history. They lived during the same history of that time. So these new Christian apologists, they basically saying, we know better about Islam and about your religion than your entire scholars in history. Can you see the arrogance? So yes, we are not dealing with arguments, logical arguments, or proofs in any case. There is no proof, there is no arguments here, unfortunately. We are dealing with pure arrogance mixed with some ignorance that gives you this contemporary Christian apologist that you see on your TV today. That's literally what it is. And if you think that I'm exaggerating right now, you can look this up yourself. We can see more and more new Christians, apologists, right, who are so inspired and so excited to spread the news of their religion by attacking the religion of Islam. They don't see any other way. They don't know how to preach their religion anymore. If you look at the Christian apologists right now, the Christian preachers, it's all Islamic hatred. That's all you see. They don't know how, like, they are out of ideas. They don't know how to preach their religion anymore. The point I'm trying to make is we see new, young, excited Christians trying to teach us, the Muslims, the Arabic speakers, our own language. But it is, at this point, it's just comedy. Look at this.
In Surah 2063, Allah makes a grammatical error. This word after indeed is hadhani, the dual nominative, but instead it should be hadhain, which is the dual accusative.
Yeah, first of all, that word you have up there, that's not a word. You have to flip it. That's what happens when your Windows doesn't have the Arabic keyboard. You have to install it, and then it's going to recognize the Arabic language, right? Anyway, what are you talking about? Like harhaini and harhaini. So in the Quran, there's multiple readings, right, when it comes to the words in Arabic. And there is two pronunciations when it comes to that particular word. There's in hadani and inna hadaini. Both are correct. So you have no idea what you're talking about. The other kind of ignorance is that these people think they have better understanding than all the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and all the Muslim scholars, as we just point out. If any of you watched the debate between David Wood and Daniel Hakikachu a couple of weeks ago, where they had this debate about the Islamic dilemma, there was a very, very interesting part that I noticed is when Daniel started quoting some tafsir of the verses, right? And so he started quoting Ibn Abbas, he started quoting Ibn Kathir and Muslim scholars, and they give you the hadith of the companions of the Prophet, about the Prophet, etc., to enforce and to give you proof of the understanding and the actual meanings of those verses. He's trying to show you that there's a global understanding, a unified understanding when it comes to the meaning of those verses that the Muslims always had during the entire 1400 years, right? It never changed. There's a unified understanding when it comes to the meaning of those verses. But then look at what David Wood said.
Daniel quoted Ibn Abbas as saying, we changed our scriptures. Now, I didn't know that Ibn Abbas was a greater authority than Allah and Muhammad. Notice I'm going to Allah and Muhammad. He's going to Ibn Abbas and Bart Ehrman and everyone else. Very, very strange.
Look how Daniel is quoting hadith, he's quoting Ibn Abbas, he's quoting this and that. But I quote Allah directly and I quote the Prophet directly. Do you see the arrogance here? Do you actually see the arrogance? Now he's saying that when I read the Quran, when David Wood reads the Quran, he has the exact understanding and the exact meaning that Allah intended in that chapter of the Quran, in that particular verse. He doesn't need any exegesis. He doesn't need to know the Arabic. He just read the text in English and he knows exactly what God means in that specific verse. He has the exact understanding of the Prophet himself. But when us, any Muslim, when we want to understand the meaning of any verse, we go back to the scholars, to the Muslim scholars, to the hadith, to see if the first companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, the first early Muslim community understood this verse the same, right? So we know we have a global understanding when it comes to that. But these people, right, who knows literally 3 or 4 words in Arabic, they want to teach us the real meaning when it comes to the Quran and the real understanding of the Arabic language. And ladies and gentlemen, yeah, that's basically it. We are not dealing with logical evidence, logical arguments or proof if of any kind. Actually, we are dealing with arrogance and ignorance. And that's why no matter how hard you try to convince any of those people that whatever you understand about these verses are incorrect and that this Islamic dilemma makes no sense and it's not an actual argument, okay, they will never trust you and they will never even listen to you. They don't care about your refutations. They don't care about your counter arguments. Okay, they're gonna keep repeating that. Okay, because they are literally out of ideas and they do not know how to preach their religion anymore. So, in case you missed it, the reason why Muslims cannot defend this Islamic dilemma is because there is no dilemma. Hope that makes sense. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.